Hello, and welcome to IELTS Oversimplified. My name is Lily. Today, we are going to learn how to describe maps in IELTS Academic Writing Task 1. Maps are one of the question types you can get in Writing Task 1, and although they're not as common as graphs or charts, they still appear regularly in the exam, so it's important to know how to handle them. In this lesson, we're going to see an example of a map question, learn a Band 9 answer structure, go through each paragraph together, step by step, learn all the essential vocabulary you need, and produce a complete Band 9 answer. And here is how a writing task 1 question with maps may look like. You get a question card that gives you basic information about your maps, and you get 2 maps which you should describe in your own words. Let's take a closer look at our question card. It says, the maps below show Central Park in 2005 and the same park today. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features, and make comparisons where relevant. Write at least 150 words. Now, let's examine our maps. In this case, we have a before and after comparison. This is the most common type of map question. The first thing you need to do is identify all the features in both maps. Look carefully at what changed and what stayed the same. Let me show you what I see. But before we start identifying features, I want to make sure you're confident using compass directions to describe locations on a map. This is very important because you'll need to tell the examiner where things are located. To help you understand, I'm going to overlay a compass on today's map as a guide. There. Now let's break the map into sections like this. Now let's add the name of each section. First, we have the 4 main directions: north, south, east, and west. You should already be familiar with these. Now for the diagonal directions, these are a bit harder. We have northwest, northeast, southwest, and southeast. Good. Those are all the compass directional words you need to know for describing locations. But we have one more location term specifically for IELTS maps. Can you guess what it is? The center. This refers to the middle area of the map. Now that you know how to describe locations, let's identify all the features in both maps. In 2005, we have a botanical garden in the northwest, an entrance in the north, a pond in the northeast, a fountain in the center, a children's play area in the southwest, a small cafe in the south, and a rose garden in the southeast. Memorize these directions before moving on. Pause here if you need to write them down. Now, look at today's map. Some things have changed, some things have moved, some things have gotten bigger, and some things have stayed exactly the same. This is the key to writing about maps. You need to recognize the different types of changes. Let me show you what types of changes we have in this map. First, we have additions, things that were built or added. In our map, a car park was added on the western side. Second, we have replacements, when one thing is replaced by another. The children's play area was replaced by a skate park. Third, we have expansions, when something becomes bigger. The botanical garden became twice its original size, and the cafe was expanded into a cafe and restaurant. Fourth, we have relocations, when things move from one place to another. The pond and the rose garden swapped positions. And finally, we have unchanged features, things that stayed the same. The fountain, the entrance, and the trees remained unchanged. Understanding these 5 types of changes is crucial because each type uses different vocabulary and different grammar patterns. And that's exactly what we're going to learn today. But before we start writing, let's look at the Band 9 answer structure. Let's quickly review the Band 9 structure for Task 1. You need 4 parts: an introduction where you paraphrase the question, an overview with general trends only, and 2 body paragraphs with specific details. Never write a conclusion for Task 1 because you're describing data, not giving opinions. Now, let's write our introduction. We need to paraphrase the task description. Never copy directly from the question. All right, let's start writing our Band 9 answer. The first paragraph you need to write is your introduction. For the introduction, you need to paraphrase the topic in your own words. So instead of writing, "The maps below show Central Park in 2005 and the same park today," you need to write a paraphrased version of that sentence. Here is how I wrote it. The maps illustrate the layout of Central Park in 2005 and its current configuration. Let me explain what I did. First, I kept the word maps, because maps are maps. It's not a line graph, it's not a bar chart, it's not a table. So there's no sense in paraphrasing the word maps. After that comes the verb, and it can always be paraphrased. So it's a very good technique to paraphrase the verb. I used illustrate instead of show. You could also write compare, present, or depict. Next, I changed Central Park in 2005 and the same park today to the layout of Central Park in 2005 and its current configuration. Instead of saying today, I said its current configuration, which sounds more academic. So that's our introduction. We have paraphrased the topic so the examiner can understand what our maps show. Now, let's move on to the next paragraph. Our next paragraph is the general overview. This is a very important paragraph. To achieve a Band 6 or more for Task 1, you must provide an overview. Without an overview, you cannot get Band 6, no matter how well you write the rest of your answer. In the overview paragraph, you describe general features of your maps. But here's the important thing. You should not include specific details. No specific locations. No specific numbers. Just general statements about what happened. So what should you write in a map overview? You should mention the overall nature of the changes. Did the park undergo major development? Did a few things change? Did everything change? In our case, we have already identified all of the changes. Here they are. And here is how I wrote the overview. Overall, the park has undergone significant redevelopment, with several new facilities constructed, existing amenities expanded or replaced, and some features relocated to different positions, while certain elements have remained unchanged. Let me break this down for you. My first word is overall. Always start your overview with the word overall. It signals to the examiner that you're giving a general statement. After that, I said the park has undergone significant redevelopment, which means it had a lot of different changes, specifically the ones we identified below. Then, I go on to mention each general change. First was several new facilities constructed, and I say several because we have the car park, the skate park, which replaced the old playground but still had to be built from scratch, and the restaurant, which can also be considered a new construction. Next, existing amenities expanded, which means something got larger. The cafe expanded into a restaurant, and the botanical area doubled in size. Then replaced. The children's playground was replaced by the skate park. The next one is some features relocated to different positions. The pond and rose garden moved to different positions. And finally, some elements remained unchanged. The fountain, entrance, and trees stayed in their original locations. Notice I did not say a car park was built or the botanical garden was enlarged. Those are specific details that belong in the body paragraphs. Your overview should be like a summary of what kinds of changes happened, not the specific changes themselves. Now, before we start writing our body paragraphs, I want to teach you something very important about organizing map descriptions. There are actually several ways you could organize your body paragraphs. You could organize by location, describing the north side, then the south side. You could organize by what changed versus what stayed the same. Or you could organize by the type of change. There is no right or wrong way to organize information into body paragraphs. You are being marked on being logical in how you organize information. If it lacks logic, you get a lower score. Your organization also needs to help highlight key features, which means deciding key features during your planning state is important because it will influence your paragraphing. I'm going to teach you to organize by type of change because this method works for any map you'll get in the exam. It teaches you the vocabulary systematically, and it's the easiest method to remember under exam pressure. So, in the first paragraph, we'll describe additions, replacements, and expansions, the major changes that happened to the park. In the second paragraph, we'll describe relocations and unchanged features. Let's get started. Let's write the first body paragraph together. I'll start with a topic sentence. Regarding new construction and modifications. This tells the reader what this paragraph is about. New things and changes to existing things. Here's how I wrote the first sentence. Regarding new construction and modifications, the children's play area in the southwest corner was replaced by a skate park. This is our first change, a replacement. Notice the grammar pattern. Was replaced by. This is the passive voice, and it's perfect for describing maps. Great. Now I can mention the car park. A car park was also built on the western side of the park, positioned between the botanical garden and the skate park. Notice how I said, was also built. I used also here, not then. This is very important. We don't know if the car park was built after the skate park or before it. So never use words like then, after that, or next when connecting these changes, because you don't know the actual order they were built. Use also, additionally, or furthermore instead. Also notice how I reference the location. I said, positioned between. This is a very useful and accurate way to explain something's location. Okay, now I'll describe the expansions. Additionally, 2 facilities were expanded. The botanical garden in the northwest became approximately twice its original size, and the small cafe in the south was enlarged into a cafe and restaurant. Notice I said cafe and restaurant, not just restaurant. This makes it very clear that the cafe was expanded, not completely replaced. The cafe is still there. It just got bigger, and now includes a restaurant as well. Now, here's a really important teaching point I want to share with you. When you're describing changes, you need to mention things in a logical order for the reader. For example, I mention the skate park before I talk about the car park. Why? Because I need to introduce the skate park first, so that when I say, the car park was built between the botanical garden and the skate park, the reader already knows what the skate park is. So we organize for reader clarity. Mention things before you reference them. So that's our first body paragraph. 72 words describing all the major changes, replacement, addition, and 2 expansions. Now, for our second body paragraph, I'll start with another topic sentence. In terms of relocations and unchanged features, these are things that were moved or didn't change at all. Now, here's a really great teaching moment I want to share with you. Look at what happened to the pond and the rose garden. The pond moved from the northeast to the southeast, and the rose garden moved from the southeast to the northeast. Some students would write, the pond was moved from its original position in the northeast to the southeast corner, while the rose garden was transferred from the southeast to the northeast. That sentence is almost 30 words long and very repetitive. We say northeast and southeast 4 times. There's a much better way to say this. When 2 things trade places, you can simply say, they swapped positions. Listen to how much clearer this is. The pond in the northeast corner and the rose garden in the southeast corner swapped positions. This is only 16 words, and it's immediately clear what happened. This is actually more sophisticated than the longer version because it's concise and elegant. So remember, when 2 things trade places, use swapped positions or exchanged locations. But if only one thing moves, then you do need to say, was relocated from X to Y. Now, I'll finish the paragraph with the unchanged features. However, several features remained intact, including the central fountain, the main entrance on North Street, and the trees scattered throughout the park. Notice I used however here. This is a contrast word that signals we're shifting from talking about changes to talking about things that did not change. And that's it. We've described all the features of both maps. Let's look at our complete Band 9. Answer on screen. Our introduction paraphrases the question. Our overview gives a general statement about the types of changes. Our first body paragraph describes additions, replacements, and expansions. Our second body paragraph describes relocations and unchanged features. The total word count is 161 words, which is well above the 150-word minimum. Now, you know how to describe maps in IELTS writing. Task 1. This piece of writing that we produced would achieve a Band 9 on a real IELTS test. The key is understanding the different types of changes: additions, removals, replacements, expansions, relocations, and unchanged features, and knowing the right vocabulary and grammar for each type. Remember, this method works for any map question you'll see, whether it's a park, a town centre, a building, or an island. You can always organize by type of change. Congratulations! We have finished writing our Band 9 map description together. I really hope you enjoyed this lesson and found it helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you the very best of luck on your IELTS exam. See you soon in another IELTS lesson.